Welcome once again to another Tech Friday. Imagine a fancy graphic here and a picture, stock footage of some YouTuber holding a clip-on mic, talking into it, and then the words Tech Friday appearing all fancy. And then we fade back to me right here, where I tell you something like, this week on Tech Friday, chips, and more chips, salt and vinegar, barbecue, and no, we're talking about everything that happened at Computex and Microsoft Build, and it involved microchips. So now I kind of want chips and some dip. That would be tasty. Somebody do that. Like, donate to my Ko-Fi so I can get chips and dip. That'd be great. So first up is we're going to be talking about Computex, and here is an article covering everything about it. Let me copy that, get it to y'all in chat. That comes via Tom's Hardware. And that's a great overview of everything. And I pulled out some of the key things. First up is the MacBook Neo is finally going to have some competitors coming out this fall. And this is our first chip today that these competitors are going to be based on Intel's Wildcat Lake chip. And all the usual suspects are going to be making Windows laptops with this Wildcat Lake chip. They're going to be around your $600, that $500 to $800 price range, like the MacBook Neo. And the one that seems to have caught everyone's attention is the Dell XPS 13. And do you all remember when Dell said that the XPS was no longer going to be a thing? The internet does. There's the Ars Technica article about it from January 6, 2025. So just fooling, it's back. And now the XPS brand is back and will be powered by a Wildcat Lake laptop. There was also an HP OmniBook 5 and Acer Swift Air 14. And there are more than that. Those were kind of the names I was seeing pop up a couple of times. And if you want, here is a video by Just Josh on YouTube about those devices and some benchmarks. Again, these don't come out till fall, so we don't really know what their performance is like. We just have some numbers to go on, and it's great to see that there's some competition to the MacBook Neo. I'm probably still going to recommend getting the MacBook Neo if you need a everyday laptop type computer, but these might all be great options. So check that out. If you need something in the Windows line and you want a quality low powered laptop, check those out, because since the MacBook Neo came out, the Apple just ate everyone's lunch in the low price range market. And so this is the Windows makers going, oh, we should probably compete in that space. And so you finally have some of that going on, which is great. Great to see some competition in that space. Another chip announced is the Intel Arc G3 handheld chips. And these are going to be designed for handheld devices. Amazing how that works, right? They're supposedly going to have good power management, GPU clock speed optimization, and there's claims of low power and high performance. However, these Arc G3 chips may well be expensive, and we're going to get into pricing on things a little later on as well. But here is a LTT video going over the Intel Arc chips. So if you want to check that out, again, the videos, check them out after this show that you're watching right now, do the things. And the big announcement at Computex, probably the one that sucked all the air out of the room, was the NVIDIA RTX Spark, which is a new laptop chip. And it's a chip, it's CPU, GPU, all in one chip. And it's made for agentic AI, on-device, local AI, and Windows machines. And we'll talk about the Microsoft bit in a little later. But first, we got to talk about what NVIDIA is doing here with this RTX chip. This is probably their largest storming into the chip makers' play that they've done. And it is for ARM-based Windows machines. And it's an impressive sounding chip, according to the owner of NVIDIA. There's the article on Ars Technica. Let's get into this. So, has an RTX GPU in it. unified memory. They're going to come into mini desktop PCs at first, designed to be in laptops. Again, slated to be available this fall from all the usual Windows suspects: Asus, Dell, HP, Lenovo, Microsoft, MSI, and it's going to be pretty powerful according to the specs, but it will probably also be very expensive. One of the first applications is going to be a desktop box for developers that develop AI things. And so it'll be in a machine for that. And then it'll come down to possibly more consumer grade things. But there's no way this isn't going to be an expensive chip. And here's the thing about this. I know I mentioned AI. This puts local AI, gives you a little blob of code. And I don't like using the term AI because there's nothing intelligent about these things. There's plenty of artificial, right? But this puts on-device local AI. That means you're not using, or you don't have to use, a cloud data center to have AI. Now, this isn't necessarily going to be as powerful as a cloud AI chip, but a lot of people are like, well, AI, these data centers actively harm the environment. And this is true. But now that it's on device, will that sell people more, that you can keep it local, that it doesn't touch the internet, that you have settings that you can say, I don't want you doing this, this, or this, and it can work offline, and it'll just be this little blob on your machine that you can have it do certain things. Now, will this chip actually work or live up to any of its promise? No idea. None of it's out yet. And so I wondered, is this going to be good enough for people who are against AI, where the only way it's stealing work from other people is if you yourself take that work and feed it into your own AI, instead of having an AI already trained on that stuff and stealing things and being cloud-based, and who knows where it goes. We still don't know how secure this local AI is, what even security measures will be like for local AI. And so will this lead to a new big computing competition between Apple M1 chips and NVIDIA as a chip maker and Intel, right? And now we have all these new chip designs, and NVIDIA coming on in with this other chip. But also we got to remember that the only things we know about this are from the NVIDIA presentation from the CEO. So it's potentially just a lot of hype, and could even be, as it's called, AI psychosis that a lot of CEOs seem to have lately, that AI is actually better, when it's showing that it's not really better. It's just causing more work to be done by workers you don't have anymore because you fired them. So it'll be interesting to see how this all lands and what this means for AI. I mean, is this enough? If these chips come out in more mass-produced, or not mass-produced, it come out in lower-cost devices, is this enough for people to put aside some of their objections? That's something we'll definitely see on. But I don't know, it just seems like a bad time to have AI going, anything AI. And again, there are some types of AI that are useful. There's places in the disability community where the type of, again, I don't like using the term AI. It would be great if there was another term I could use. Maybe language model or large language model will work better. I don't know, but there are places where you can kind of see that, and this is almost where we should have started with the whole putting AI on everything talk, is with this chip that kept it local, kept it offline, and then expanded from there, instead of, again, tech bros coming in, ruining everything, stealing everyone's data to train their AI models, and making these large data centers, or wanting to make these large data centers to power everything. Thankfully, there's a lot of pushback on data centers. And then, have built from this point of this local first idea, and then maybe expanded out, and maybe we'd be having a completely different conversation at this point. So that's just some of the stuff I'm wondering about surrounding the NVIDIA RTX Spark. And again, anything with the NVIDIA RTX Spark that comes out, it's probably going to be expensive. I can't imagine you put it in a laptop. The predictions are you're probably looking at a $4,000 laptop with this brand new chip in it. So you have things working against you like price, where, the MacBook Neo comes out and there's these low-cost Intel-based laptops coming out with Wildcat Lake, and that's probably going to be your market for your solid laptop market for a few years for everybody. And if you're a developer, though, and you live in AI world, this is potentially exciting. But once again, we don't have it. It hasn't been tested anywhere. Could just all be hype. And so, along with Computex, and why I talked about the NVIDIA Spark first, is there was also the MS Build conference, which is Microsoft's annual developer conference thing. And so here is the full blog from Microsoft about what's going on. And there is a lot of acronyms, a lot of I shouldn't say acronyms, but a lot of names for various AI things that Microsoft is doing. There's, what do we have? We have Project Solara, we have Scout, we have this Ultra Copilot idea, and there's 3 or 4 other names for various AI things Microsoft is doing. And if you want to go through the whole list, I put the link in the article. You can check it out there. Once again, they're trying this AI agent push, and part of that is going to be with a Surface Ultra, which will have this new NVIDIA RTX Spark in it. Sorry, Surface Laptop Ultra. And here is an Ars Technica article on that, and also PC Mag. And so we'll take a look at the PC Mag article here. And so, yeah, OpenClaw style AI agents on your PC. They'll have Microsoft execution containers, which I don't know if I would have used that term for securely running OpenClaw on Windows alongside a dedicated companion app. And then again, the NVIDIA RTX Spark with the Surface Laptop Ultra, which promises no data centers or internet connection required. I like this. What this all means for regular Windows users remains unclear, because is the goal to give them the ability to spin up AI agents that perform basic tasks, convincing them this is the future of personal computing? We don't know. But it's clear Microsoft is once again like take 2 of Copilot, just under a bunch of different names. And we'll get to Project Solara in a moment. And they showed off some of the capabilities that you can set, where with OpenClaw you can delete everything, but you can tell Microsoft's AI agent that it shouldn't do that, and it won't do that. I guess that was their big onstage demo of that. So again, one of the terms we have is MXC. Yes, and this is probably one of my favorite bits of this article on PC Mag. The vision is clear, but the use case isn't. Like, we see you want us to use AI locally and that everything is on your machine. But again, once we see these coming out in the fall, and again, these first things, like last year, am I getting these terms right? Oh, yeah. So there was another NVIDIA chip that was for just developers of AI things. It was called, I can't remember the name, but right now we have the RTX Spark Dev Box, which is able to run local models with some guarantee of security. And will this actually drive people to Windows, or is this to want to use Windows again? Or is it just going to be is this going to be Copilot 2.0 and just fail all over again? And there are so many different names for this thing, for these things that Microsoft is introducing. Again, I just mentioned 3, right? You gotta know what Project Solara is. Oh yeah, Scout is another name. And then we have Spark, the NVIDIA Spark and Ultra Copilot. And there's more. And on top of, you have Microsoft Office, which makes sense because in Microsoft Office, you have Word, PowerPoint, Excel. You can identify those things. But what do all these AI things do? Why are they all separate names? Why do I even need to learn this? It's like, oh, if you want to do this, you contain this. And maybe there's an idea in the future, maybe that devices are just AI agents and you tell them what you want and it does a thing. And so apps kind of more apps go by the wayside. That could be a potential future of these things. And let me catch up on chat a minute. Hi, Nick. Welcome on in. Meanwhile, Microsoft canceling Claude Code license internally, citing high costs, right? As a tech writer who works in a MS shop, I really wish they would stop with the multiple names on ongoing name changes. It's not Office anymore. It's MS 365 now. Ask me how I know. Oh, I'm so sorry. There's probably a lot of find and replace going on. And so I'm just seeing more name confusion being added in to a thing that people so far say we kind of don't want this in our machines. Thank you. But again, are some of those objections going to be lessened when they can prove that these things are secure, they are local, and they run offline, and they don't touch anyone's internet, and they're only going to be stealing content from others if the user themselves steal the content and feed it to their model? And so how does that shift the needle? And we also got to get into the more practical sense of CEOs, again, AI psychosis, CEOs thinking that AI will do better than a worker in every case, and it just isn't. It's causing more work. You can tell a worker who knows what they're doing, hey, do this, they'll get it done. But now but if you just have AI do it, you'll have to double check it. And that means still having someone knowing what they're doing, checking a program that they could have just written in the first place and have it go. So this is definitely a change in how we can talk about AI, but does it make anything better? Probably not. All right, let's talk about Project Solara, which is an AI agent platform. And they showed off concepts of 2 devices. There's an article courtesy of Engadget. These devices don't exist yet, but they showed off an Echo Show style smart display and a key badge. Admittedly, the key badge thing is kind of neat. If you were a worker at a place that had badges, you would just use this thing attached to you as a little personal computer. You could scan it, get things done, have it talk, move info around by just talking to the thing. And then the kind of smart home thing that you can do the same thing with. And instead of naming it something similar to what's going to be in Windows, they have a whole new title for this. Solara. It's their AI agent platform. And it isn't Scout, which will be in your Windows machine. It isn't an Ultra Copilot. It isn't any of those other terms we mentioned. It's something different. And, having all these terms is just going to lead to confusion, marketing confusion. And because no one really understands what one term is over the other, unless you do a really good job of explaining everything and having a constant flowchart people can go to and look at, we're just going to be lost in a mire of words that are meaningless. So Solara, the badge thing, is kind of neat looking, but again, it would be AI that connects to some sort of network or cloud or whatever, and you talk to it, it does the thing, whatever. The device looks neat. I'll give it that. It's just all the AI stuff attached to it that, And then there's the smart home device Echo Show like thing that they showed. And did I give you that article? Yeah, I posted that Engadget article. So that is the big things from Computex and Microsoft Build. It was a lot. It was AI driven. Again, there's some cool stuff in the MacBook Neo competitors using the Intel Wildcat Lake chips like the Dell XPS 13 and things like that. And it's wild to me that just last year, Dell was like, hey, we're no longer going to make XPS computers. And now to compete with the MacBook Neo, they revive the brand, have a new thing. But all of these things I'm talking about we're not going to see any of it until the fall, when there'll be benchmarks and lots of videos by, I'm sure every YouTuber around will have video on each and everything, analyzing and dissecting them all. And we'll talk about these as they come out. But right now I wanted to give an overview of what happened at these events, so that when it comes time to actually talk about the machines that are out in the wild, we have a base to go on and where these came from. So yeah, if you want to talk about any of that stuff, please put it into chat and I'll get to it as they come up. Other than that, I want to move on to, according to Tom's Hardware, Corsair is making a Stream Deck. That's Stream, S-T-R-E-A-M, Deck mouse. It's a wireless mouse, almost 50 hours of 8K, whatever that might mean. It has a Stream Deck button on it, so you can program the virtual Stream Decks with a little launch button on the side of your mouse. And it's another Stream Deck thing. That's why I mention it. The Nightsword V2 Wireless SD. But it's kind of neat that you can integrate Stream Deck plugins with it all and have it go from there. Oh, didn't mean to do that. All right, but there's what it will look like, specs, all that fun stuff. And the last bit of hardware before I get into TTRPG things I want to talk about is, once again, when I had money last year, I backed the Pebble 2 watch, and it came in. This is the Pebble Time 2. Has a color e-ink display. I chose this watch face. There's multiple watch faces to choose from. It's comfortable around the wrist. This band is silicone, and there's a quick release mechanism right here. If you pull the little tab over, I had problems with it. Of course, the video that Pebble 2 shows is someone just instantly going, oh yeah, these click right in. They didn't click right in for me. So I've been wearing it almost a week now. It's been really good. This has by far been the easiest smartwatch to pair with my Android phone. I've set up a Fitbit for my mom, and I had a smartwatch last year, but it just stopped working. And this was incredibly easy to set up. Just took a few minutes. And so far, I'm impressed with it. So if you want any of that information, you can go there. I really like all the watch faces, all the little apps you can do. Another nice thing about it is it has 4 buttons. You can see that there's 1 button, and then this side another 3. It's great. This is supposed to last about, I think, 12 days on a single charge because it's an e-ink screen, and that will probably pan out because I charged it full. And the charging mechanism, other smartwatches like even the Fitbit and the other smartwatch I had, the charging thing never really, it felt like tricky to get it to connect and actually charge. Felt kind of slidey. This one actually, you can kind of hear it grip on, and I appreciate that. So I charged it up to 100% once, and I'm only at 84% after 5 days of use. So that's pretty fantastic. There's some tracking your step things. Again, this watch face in particular has a nice time indicator, and you can double tap on the screen to call that back. The weather, battery life, day. So yeah, so far I am happy with that. So that was the hey, this is neat tech thing coming out. And there are a couple of TTRPGs I wanted to get into. First of all, Cage of Rage Cage Games. They have a Kickstarter launching soon, a card deck for their solo journaling RPG, and this looks kind of cool. Cage is a wonderful human, but delivered a solo journaling RPG, which I have, but this is a card deck, and as you can see, it has the cards, it has stats on it, and includes all the prompts you need to play delivered a solo journaling RPG printed on the respective cards. Don't need to flip through the rule book, and I thought this was just a really cool idea in giving us extra value out of your solo journaling RPG that you made. Such a great idea. Loving it. So if you want to sign up for notifications when the Kickstarter launches, here is the link. I highly recommend doing so. And another project I want to highlight is going by Matriarch of Maps now, Devin Rue added a really cool thing to their Ko-fi, that word. There it is. This is the Dicey map set. It's only $25. I ordered one, and this is just a neat idea. I mean, we have two really cool ideas from a couple of great people. So check this out. These are, direction dice that go north, south, east, west, right? Don't know what to add next to your map? Let a D20 decide. Roll the directional D8 to get your heading. 3D colored printed dice containing a 35mm D20 and hand-drawn icons for land and water features, and instructions on how to use them to create a map. I mean, how cool is this? And it's such a fun idea of getting into map making and adding features to your world. And then you can get all sorts of other items from Devin Rue here. Highly, highly recommend checking this out. Just like that. That's pretty awesome. Okay, rounding out the TTRPG news, here's another YouTube video. A couple weeks ago, Bob Worldbuilder did a video on the first 10,000 results of a poll he ran about what is your favorite TTRPG. And he listed a bunch of them. And so he got the first 10,000 results. And then this week, he released the final total, all 30,000 some results and where they led. And there are links in this video. Again, watch the video after the show. There's the YouTube video. There are links to all the data. You can look at the chart. You can look at the poll. You can look at various breakdowns that Bob has done. And so the overwhelming winner was D&D 5th edition 2014, and then Pathfinder, and then the unusual case of other, and we'll get to that, and then D&D 2024, and way down at the other end, everything else, right? The top 20 doesn't even come close to numbers represented by the other RPGs mentioned, and taken as a whole, because in the other section, in RPGs he didn't think about to put in the poll, people put in 1,000 different RPGs that were their favorite, and he looked through the data, so he got rid of people trying to game the system with the other. He got rid of those, and things that said, well, since Pathfinder wasn't listed, some people would put Pathfinder 1, Pathfinder 2, so those went into the overall Pathfinder category. And it's a really great sort of, it's 30,000 people, right? And it's a great look at where RPGs are currently. And Bob might run this poll again next year and mentions results. And he says what other included, because there were over 1,000 different RPGs people listed as their favorite. I think that's right. That might not be right. But there was a lot, right? And so this other category wound up being huge and there was just so much variation in there. And here's the thing, D&D came out ahead of everything else. And so, personal observation, these videos saying D&D is dead is like saying this is the year of Linux for the past 20 years, right? Out of these 30,000 some results, overwhelmingly D&D was ahead. Could this change in a year? Sure. But right now, it's pretty good display, and once you get 30,000 people, that's a lot of people, and you grow that out to even more, and maybe if he does this next year, maybe the results will look a little different when people go, oh, this poll, we remember this, and then you get a lot more. But 30,000 is a pretty good sample of where people are at. The video was great and a tremendous insight into how rules lawyers like to split hairs, right? Yeah, so I highly recommend, after this show, go watch that video. It's fantastic. So, let's see here. There were a lot of hipsters in the TTRPG space, to be sure. Reminds me of the no one is listening to music genre anymore nonsense, right? No one's listening except for these, couple million people over here. So that's where we'll wrap up for today. Next week on Tech Friday, we'll go over all the announcements Apple does in Worldwide Developers Conference, which I think is on Monday or Tuesday. And those will be Apple's big announcements for the year of what's coming up. And so Tech Friday will be going over their announcements and then comparing kind of what happened at Computex and the NVIDIA Microsoft stuff compared to what Apple was announcing. And that should be a fun one. Again, it'll be a really packed episode. So come on by for that. If you're watching the VOD later, thank you for watching Tech Friday. I appreciate you coming on in. And I'll see you next week for yet another amazing episode.